Good morning. My name is Michael Schuman. I am the Administrative Director of the Karmic Margin Call Project. Today is March the 28th, 2020. It is about 5:50 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. So who am I? What do I do? I help good people with impeccable character leverage their time and talent in an effort to save 9 million lives a year by administrating a time bank. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the 5-year plan. I call it the 5-year plan to reverse engineer the economy. And I wanted to begin with a story before I go into the presentation. A lot has been changing. A lot has been happening with me within the last 2 weeks, especially. I've been focused a lot on reverse engineering the economy, helping to provide economic equality through time banking and through my process of reverse market mechanics. Today, it's about saving lives. Really been doing a lot of deep dive into myself, into my own motivations, and really having some deep talks with other people. And when I first presented this material to a billionaire and to other organizations, their response back was, "We'll talk to you, but only if you turn over all rights to your idea to us." I told them I was open to that, but the entire point of an equal partnership economy is that nobody owns it. You know, it's we work in equal partnerships, and we change the rules of the hierarchy, change the rules of the economy from a hierarchy to equal partnerships. So I spent the last 2.5 years being very, very angry about that. And when I really kind of looked inside myself to understand why I was so angry, at first I was doing a lot of blaming. I was blaming the billionaire. I was blaming big tech. I was blaming, Facebook and YouTube and Google because I do these messages. I do these recordings every week now. Every other week and every week. And, maybe one or two people actually watches it, even though I share it with my inner circle. So I was blaming, the establishment, that there's 9 million people dying of starvation, 9 to 10 million people dying. And it's because poverty is contrived. It's because we're working in a broken system. And when somebody comes along, and I felt a little full of myself, I think, someone like me comes along letting people know that, look, it doesn't have to be this way. We can change the rules, but you want ownership of it. Those deaths are on you. Those deaths are on the big tech. Those deaths are on the billionaires. Those deaths are all on the establishment. And it kind of put me into a tailspin, for 2.5 years where it just wasn't productive. I wasn't trying to reach the people that I truly want to reach. And that is good people with impeccable character. Now, that doesn't mean you're perfect. God knows I'm not perfect. But it just means that you've done the work. You've done the deep work to start to understand your own motivations so that we can come together and find the innovation to solve the problems. And I do believe what I'm going to be talking about today in today's presentation will help open the door to coming together to solve those problems together. So that being said, I'm going to go into today's presentation, and I am going to share my screen. Go and get my slideshow up. So this is the 5-year plan. And this is what the Karmic Margin Call Project and the Virtual Services Time Bank. I'm going to go over a little bit of our mission statement and our vision statement, and also what we intend to do in the next 5 years together as equal partners. All right, so this is the Karmic Margin Call Project and Virtual Services Time Bank, the 5-year plan. Sometimes I call this the 5-year plan to reverse engineer the economy. And what that really just means is going from a hierarchy to an equal partnership arrangement where everybody is honored for their contributions. So our mission statement is, the Karmic Margin Call Project helps good people with impeccable character leverage their time and talent to save the lives of 9 million people a year by implementing time banking. So let me clarify that a little bit. Why do I say 9 million? I recently did some research that stated that 33,000 people die a day from starvation. They're living in impoverished conditions. They're living in warlike conditions. So they don't have their nutritional values met. So you divide that out, 33,000 people a day. That's about 1,700, 1,800 people an hour. That means someone in the world is dying of starvation every 3 seconds. I also have done a lot of deep dive work into how we communicate with each other, how the social media business plans work, how they try to extract your attention and then change your behavior to meet the goals, the business goals of the big tech companies and also of the big corporations in the world. So every moment matters, so time matters. And I really did a deep dive check in myself where every time I open this computer now, I have a choice. I can go with their plan, to extract my attention and get into the drama of politics, of government, of whatever TV show or movie that I'm happen to resonate with at the time. I can go with that plan. And when that happens, that means I personally am responsible for a death. I'm taking a life. But when I get back to what my life purpose is, when I get back to helping other people express and implement what their life purposes are, then we save a life. So we save a life one moment at a time, or as we're going to say here in a moment, one heart, one relationship, one fellowship at a time. So every time I open this computer and I do a presentation like this, or I work on a documentary film that I'm working on at the moment, or conversing with my core fellowship, we're saving lives. Because eventually what that's going to do is it's going to trickle out and it's going to help empower everybody to take an equal stake in a new bank. And I'm going to go over the numbers about that later on in this presentation today. So the mission of the Virtual Services Time Bank is to establish an equal partnership economy, or we also call it a regenerative economy, to save a minimum of 9 million lives a year by applying innovative accounting procedures within the current extractive economy. Equal partnerships are established by educating the public about what we see as the 3 pillars of socioeconomic stability. And we're going to go through those today. The first is fellowship. If there's no fellowship, we don't have anything. That's the why, the commitment we show to each other. Time banking. 1 hour of my service is equal to an hour of anyone else's service, regardless of your socioeconomic status. That's the how. And then we do that with reverse market mechanics. That's also part of the how and the what. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that more in another presentation today. And I'm going to do a deep dive about reverse market mechanics in another presentation that I'll be recording in about 2 weeks. So the Virtual Services Time Bank executes this mission of the Karmic Margin Call Project. So the mission is basically just to help people record their time and reassign a new value, a new monetary value to that time that honors everybody as equal partners. So these are the 3 pillars. Fellowship. I'm going to do an entire presentation here in the next few minutes just on fellowship. So there's this principle called social capital. What is social capital? Social capital is the value you bring. It can be in something that you make. It can be something that you have to educate, what you have to teach. It can be, the sheer energy or the physical labor that you're able to provide. But all of that is equal. All of that is, the value of that is equal in the equal partnership economy. So we want to increase everybody's social capital through equal partnerships. So we offer unlimited opportunities in order to do that. So if you're working in a fellowship, working with, with someone where where the understanding is that everybody is equal, you will learn more and you will progress more, as a person, and able to and then be able to put these new skills back into this emerging economy. And you'll also be able to thrive better in the extractive economy, the competitive economy. Time banking. This is a basic idea that one person's hour is equal to another hour, regardless of socioeconomic status. So that's important. That requires that you check your ego at the door, and that we practice. We practice principles of collaboration, being able to really look for the value in someone else, even if you disagree with them. To develop the emotional intelligence necessary to kind of get away from this whole hierarchy where there's secrecy and compartmentalization and people feel like they're not really adding much value. That's not a mistake. That is deliberate and it's contrived. And we'll talk more about that. And of course, reverse market mechanics. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the 2x2 trend, how when you're working within your integrity, you're working within your natural talent, you will invite people to your cause. And we're not looking for you to go out and generate 100 followers or 1,000 followers or 1 million followers. We're asking you to just do the deep dive, with 2 partners. And if everybody takes responsibility for just really giving and taking within that fellowship arrangement, really developing those relationships and those partnerships, everybody takes responsibility for doubling the effort of saving those 9 to 10 million lives. So reverse market mechanics is how we measure the 2x2 trend, and how we measure how much the regenerative economy is growing within the current extractive economy. Okay, so fellowship. This is where you develop your content, meaningful and relevant content, with people that you trust. And if you don't have anybody that you trust right now, that's also the purpose of fellowship. We don't even talk about strategy yet. We don't even talk about implementation yet. Fellowship is about trust, taking the time to build the trust. And sometimes that doesn't happen overnight. And that looks differently for everybody. But the deeper you're going within to yourself, the more you can give in a partnership, in a friendship, in a fellowship. The time banking represents the microeconomic management. So in a later presentation, I'll be talking a little bit about how we manage the microeconomics. How does this affect people in day-to-day life? How does this affect your day-to-day decisions? And reverse market mechanics focuses on the macroeconomic infrastructure. So we'll go briefly into that later if you are interested in becoming an administrator and understanding how to kind of shift the global economy through reverse market mechanics. Not necessary. It's just going to be kind of like a little add-on presentation I'll do later today. And I'll be giving another presentation in a few weeks as well that does a real deep dive into how reverse market mechanics works. But that's not the purpose of today's presentation. Today's presentation is all about just understanding the more you open up, the more that you start to entertain these kinds of thoughts, the more lives you'll be saving. The more lives we'll be saving together. Okay, so the key concept is that your time is a tangible and measurable asset. It is the emotional distortions which determine the value of each individual's time. So let me take a moment to really emphasize that. Your time has value. We have just been conditioned within an extractive society to feel like our time doesn't really matter much. We have been conditioned to believe real estate, commodities like gold, oil, even data at this point, data on the internet, on social media, are all infinitely valuable, but our time is not. And in another presentation that I'll be giving called The 3 Barriers, I'll be going into some deep material about how to increase the value of your time. But I want that to really hit home, that you matter. What you have to offer to this world matters greatly. In a competitive society that is exploited, that is devalued in a lot of ways, but you are infinitely valuable. Okay. It's not, I mean, I can open the door to that. I can help you start to entertain that, but you have to be the one to commit. You have to be the one to commit to knowing that and understanding that on a primal level, on a visceral level. So here's the vision statement of the Karmic Margin Call Project. The Karmic Margin Call project creates unlimited opportunity and freedom from the pressures of poverty and war. One heart, one relationship, one fellowship at a time. So the opportunities are there. It's just a matter of reaching out and starting that conversation. That's what I'm attempting to do today with this presentation, starting the conversation. So poverty and war, we know that war is a byproduct of poverty. And that is also the result of an extractive economy. So there's a need for secrecy. There's a need for compartmentalization. There's a need to set tribes against each other, tribalism. And our vision is to help people traverse those emotional barriers that limits communication. And when that communication can happen with people we may disagree with or people from another tribe, we'll start to have clearer communication about how to solve these problems that is to the benefit of everyone, where we don't have to extract, we don't have to kill, we don't have to contrive poverty. We hold the vision that creating economic stability and social equality are simple. They're fundamentally simple. The challenge really lies in facilitating the mutually trusting relationships between individuals. Art, education, and entrepreneurship are at the intersection of these relationships. So what I want to really emphasize there is that a lot of my colleagues, especially in the executive coaching field, they have expressed frustration and they have expressed concern about how the affluent, people with a lot of power and a lot of finances behind them, they will not take the risk to have an interpersonal trusting relationship. It's too much of a risk. So we realize that to develop a regenerative economy is not to beat these people or not to win, because that just really fuels the extractive economy even more, but to continue to hold the safe space where those trusting relationships can emerge. And that doesn't happen overnight. It happens, it happens with each individual, finding their own purpose, finding their own joy, and finding their own way to communicate what's deep inside their hearts. So we seek to have those conversations. I know that's going to take a big, brave move on the part of the elite, so to speak. But we're going to continue to hold that space where trust can flourish. So the Karmic Margin Call Project holds the ethical vision for the Virtual Services Time Bank. So it's the philosophy behind what we do. And the why we do it to save millions of lives a year. So here's the timeline. So this first presentation that I'm giving today is really just an overview of where we're going in the next 5 years. So in this presentation, I'm giving you the overview, where we are right now and where we would like to go, and how to contact us and what benefits you receive as a member owner of this time bank. The second presentation I'm going to be giving today will be just about fellowships, how to initiate a fellowship, how to participate, how to know if your fellowship is successful. And we'll go into that as well. And then the last part of today's presentation is really more advanced stuff, but we'll be talking about the time banking and the reverse market mechanics a little bit, to just kind of help you get a foot into our world and to start to have that conversation once again. So, and that last presentation today will be a lot of advanced stuff, and I'll try to go slow. And please don't feel you have to understand all of this. Normally, somebody does not understand content until they have viewed it 3 times. The first time, you're just getting acquainted. We're just getting to know each other. There might be an impression. I might leave you with an impression today, and that's going to be personal to you. The second time through, you watch it, more of the content gets integrated. You start to understand it. And then by the third time you watch something like this, the more there will be a sense of mastery. So this year, 2021, it's really just about fellowship. It's just about having the conversation, really peeling back the layers of cultural conditioning and finding out what's true. What is true for you? What is your purpose? What is your why? And we find that in fellowship. And again, that doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. We are engaged in the process of honoring process and not so much product. In 2022, we will be teaching others how to go from taking this newfound knowledge from fellowship and implement it within the time bank. So that's where the administration of the time bank, teaching people how to administrate a time bank, how to take ownership of a time bank, will really come into play. Will be next year. So we already have a time bank established at ourworld.org. I'm going to be showing you a little bit about that system as well in the third presentation today. But the emphasis on the time banking will really take precedence in 2022. In 2023, 2024, that's when we're really going to be paying more attention to the reverse market mechanics, how we change the monetary system. Sometimes I say we're unrigging the monetary system. In the 3 barriers, I go into a little bit more specific details about how the economy, how the financial markets are rigged, and what we can do to reverse those effects. And then in 2024, 2025, will be about automation, upscaling. How do we apply the technology to make this all seamless, to make an equal partnership economy seamless? Because right now, I know it's very difficult. What's going to be happening over the next year or two is probably, I'll give this presentation 100 times, but only about 2.5% of you will understand it enough to take the next step. And that's understandable. So I'm looking for the 2.5% who resonate with this message. The other 98%, 97.5%, I get it. You've probably already turned this off by now. But by 2022, 12% of you will start to resonate more with this message. And then by 2023, 2024, half of you will be encouraged by this. Okay, so what's it all about financially? Right now, we are in a system that I call the debt-based economy, or the extractive economy, which is based on a $277 trillion debt and counting. It's probably a lot more than that after COVID, after a year of COVID. This figure was from early fall of 2020, and we're right now in March of 2021. So it's hard to get an actual number on that because it's always moving. And there is a little bit of, I think there is a little bit of hidden information that doesn't really give us a clear picture of how much debt is there globally. So it's always a moving target. On the right, where you see these dividing cells, is what I call the regenerative economy, which is based in time. And I crunched the numbers. If we assign a value, a specific value to that, that could be per hour, that could be a 4.9 quadrillion time-based economy. That would create equal partnerships. That would effectively end poverty if we can tap into that. So I have that little dot in the middle. You are here. So we're having this conversation. So we're starting to move out of that extractive economy and starting to have the conversation to tap into that regenerative economy. So that's what's at stake here. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that means, about what every individual is really worth if we honor each other as equal partners. Okay. So today, if you want to become a member, um, just go to karmicmargincall.com and click on fill out an application. We'll just take your basic information and two references. We ask for two references, but this is what we are offering in return. So obviously, membership to the Virtual Services Time Bank. So that's free. You can become a Time Bank member anytime you want and start communicating with us and make exchanges. That is completely free. If you would like to enroll in our revenue sharing program, here's what you will also get. The 2x2 documentary film, which is what I'm working on right now. I'm probably working about an hour or 2 hours every day putting this documentary film together, which I'm hoping will be finished by the end of this year, 2021. So it explores our journey of how the relationships develop, some of the projects we're working on, and giving just kind of artistic creativity free reign. I call it a homemade but creatively produced film. So you will be able to have a copy of that once it is finished if you are a contributing revenue sharing member. I will share with you the business plan. It details out how to generate $1 trillion worth of revenue within 5 years. So this is my attempt to speak businessese. It's not complete, it's not perfect, but it starts to have that conversation and tap into the corporate world as well about how this is realistically attainable to generate $1 trillion industry within 5 years or less. We will give you access to our core fellowship recordings. So I understand sometimes people just don't want to jump in. There is that fear there. I have recordings ready to go on our website where you can start to get to know the four of us. Actually, it's been the five of us recently, but for the past 6 months, it's been the four of us, and our journey, our conversations for the first 6 months or so. It's an open book, and you can get to know me. You can get to know us through some of those recordings. I call myself the rogue counselor. I have audio and video recordings available to probably about 10 hours or more of just conversation starters, methods and modalities to really explore you, your life, your emotions, your psychology to help you get to your why. So between the fellowship recordings and the rogue counselor recordings, we're talking probably 20 hours of material to help facilitate your decision to be a part of this initiative. I will give quarterly coordinator reports once we get past this first year. This video is kind of like a coordinator report because I'm going to be giving you updates on how our initiative is going according to our 5-year plan. But our contributing members will receive quarterly reports regularly. You'll receive an EPE number. Now, I'm getting a little bit into specific details here, but what that really means is it will help you to track what the monetary value of your time investment is. So that's all that means, is that you'll have a growing investment that will monetarily yield returns based on the cumulative activity in the bank. And that's the kind of cool thing too. I mean, you'll almost like at a rate of $1.25 an hour, you'll get to receive services from other owner members. So, there are people with very, very specialized advanced skills that, you can tap into where people would probably pay thousands of dollars, to be able to, to have, fellowship with these people. At a rate of $1.25 an hour as part of our revenue sharing program, because it's not like you're just paying that out to, to somebody. You're accumulating interest for receiving services, from people who are really good at what they do. So and what that means is for every $25 that is donated or that is contributed to the bank, you're entered into our revenue sharing program. And here's the thing: we only collect a contribution after you have provided 20 hours of services. So that's what makes it an equal partnership economy. That's what makes it legit, and how we track, the growth of the bank. So let me just go into that. So that's really kind of our business plan, is that you can make a $25 voluntary donation, and I use that term very carefully too, because I found out recently that in Canada you can't collect donations unless you're a nonprofit organization. We're going to be looking more into that, but you can only make a $25 donation again after you provide 20 hours of service. So that's kind of how we keep things equal, and keep things monitored, and keep things very, very legitimate. So yeah, so that's our revenue sharing plan. Again, you don't have to be a part of the revenue sharing plan to be a member of the Time Bank. Just go to karmicmargincallproject.com, click here for an application, and we'll start getting the ball rolling, and talking with your references, speaking with your references as well. If you would like to have a conversation or be a part of some of our conversations, just go to patreon.com/karmic margin call. I try to hold a monthly fellowship circle where we discuss different topics. This month, we're talking specifically about social media. And just keep an eye out on that. Become I'm sorry, I'm talking about Meetup right now. Let's go back. Patreon is where you can go to start to receive some of these benefits. We have a $7 a month program, I think, might be $8 now, up to a $30 a month program. And there's different benefits there if you're interested in kind of like dipping your toe in.